Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is pulling on Trump's patent leg, going, "Notice me, notice me, notice me." And Donald Trump is saying, "I don't even know who you are." But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
So the Nobel Peace Prize Committee announced that President Trump did not win the honor. Apparently, the decision about who was going to win it, a Venezuelan activist, was made 2 days before the peace deal in the Middle East was announced. Now, President Trump, by my math, has 7 other peace deals that he has done aside from the one in the Middle East, never mind the Abraham Accords that he did during his first term in office. So the Nobel Peace Prize is irrelevant. It really is irrelevant. Let's be real about what happens. So your picture goes up in the Nobel Prize Committee headquarters, which nobody ever looks at. The thing is going to go in his presidential library in Miami. How many people are actually going to look at that? I think they'd rather go to the slot machines or whatever else is going to be in the library, or see the new jet, the new Qatari jet in the Trump Hotel Library and Casino. Really, what do you need the thing for? I'd rather be remembered for history than be remembered because I won some dumb award. Mike, how many people actually know we've won awards on this show? They've tuned into the show because they like the show. It doesn't matter how many awards you win. It matters that people actually like what you do. And I'll tell you something. If you heard the show yesterday, when I was near tears thanking President Trump for what he did in the Middle East, that matters a whole lot more. But I want to know what you think. Do you think President Trump should have won the Nobel Peace Prize? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. But while you're sending in your answers, let me give you a list of some of the other Nobel Peace Prize winners, shall we? Number 1, Yasser Arafat, 1994, chairman of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, otherwise known as the PLO. You know what they're famous for? Inventing airplane hijackings. That's right, hijackings. They invented the bomb vest. Woo! Killed tens of thousands of people, and when your voice cracks on the word "hi," that's even more entertaining when it happens, right? Yasser Arafat spent decades directing terrorist attacks that killed civilians across Israel and abroad. Even after signing the Oslo Accords, which were a colossal disaster, he continued funding and glorifying violence, helped trigger the Second Intifada. Number 2, Barack Obama in 2009, nominated before even becoming president. Awarded less than a year into his presidency before he accomplished anything. Funded Iran, which led to the problems we have now. Destabilized Libya. Helped the rise of ISIS. Remember the JV squad? Woo! Well done. Aung San Suu Kyi, 1991. Burmese opposition leader turned politician. Defended Myanmar's military during its genocide of the Rohingya and dismissed evidence of ethnic cleansing and mass rape. Wow, what a winner. What a winner. This is a great list to be on, isn't it? Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, launched a bloody civil war in Tigray with reports of ethnic massacres, torture, famine caused by government blockades. Woodrow Wilson, 1919. Nobody's got a higher body count as a U.S. president than Woodrow Wilson. Sowed the seeds of World War II. Rigoberta Menchú, Guatemalan activist whose autobiography, which was central to her Nobel Prize recognition, was later found to contain fabricated and exaggerated claims about the atrocities. Cordell Hull, 1945, U.S. Secretary of State who denied entry to over 900 Jewish refugees aboard the SS St. Louis in 1939 under Roosevelt, sending many back to Europe, where they were killed in the Holocaust. Do you really want Trump on this list? To me, I'd rather have Trump in a different book. And you're going to laugh because you're going to think this is a nothing burger. I have a book that's issued to you for your bar mitzvah. Okay? Any kid that gets bar mitzvahed in the U.S. gets this book as a present. U.S. Presidents and the Jews. You get that issued to you with the great big book of Jewish humor and a few other books. It gets issued. Well, it talks about were they good for the Jews, were they bad for the Jews. Personally, for me, I'd rather have him in there, but he's going to be in the history books for the Abraham Accords. He's going to be in the history books for stopping this, for getting the hostages back. That's what he's going to be in the history books for. Do you need him getting the Nobel Peace Prize? Now, in an act of absolute classiness, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Maria Corina Machado, dedicated the award to President Trump for his decisive support of our cause. She's a Venezuelan opposition leader. Quote, the recognition of the struggle of all Venezuelans is a boost to conclude our task, to conquer freedom. We are on the threshold of victory, and today, more than ever, we count on President Trump, the people of the United States, the peoples of Latin America, and the democratic nations of the world as our principal allies to achieve freedom and democracy. I dedicate this prize to the suffering people of Venezuela and to President Trump for his decisive support of our cause. So if you're mad that President Trump didn't win the award, don't hate the person who did, because she is leading the revolution against communism in Venezuela, against the dictatorship in Venezuela. She's on our side, guys. So, do you think President Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize? Do you even care if he gets it or not? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. TJ on the Warrior Injury Law text line says, no prize. Would rather not have him be part of that list. Another reason to show how irrelevant that list is. Here's another one from the 360. It's been irrelevant since Obama won it in 2009. Oh, wait a second. Jeff and Kent. Ever since Obama won for something, when you figure out, let me know, the Nobel has lost its meaning for me. Right, exactly. What is the purpose of this thing? We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take call from Doug in Spanaway. Doug, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess if there was like maybe $100 million check that went with it, he could accept that. But as far as I'm concerned, if I was Trump, I would accept it, and then the prize itself, I'd wipe my ass with it and send it right back to him.
Okay, careful with the language there, with the FCC there, my friend. But I do appreciate where you're coming from there. I really, really do, because I get it. Believe me, I get it. Now, I think it comes with $1 million, and I think Barack Obama donated that to charity. I have to go back and double check that.
Obama!
Yeah, that may have been the only thing he did to help the world, but the question is, which charity did he give it to? Doug, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, while the left was cheering that Trump didn't get this, do you realize what they were cheering? A Venezuelan opposition leader who's opposed to socialism, which has failed in Venezuela. Oh, she's so deserving. Oh, she's so wonderful. Then you guys are admitting socialism is a failure and you're backing the more capitalist-leaning candidate? Congratulations. You played yourselves.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Exactly. So anytime you see any of these idiots from the left celebrating that, you go, thank you for admitting socialism doesn't work. These people have no idea what they're doing. They're so ignorant of history. It is mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. By the way, that list of Nobel laureates or whatever they are, Nobel Peace Prize winners, I knew most of those offhand because I've studied this stuff before. I go, you're giving the Nobel Peace Prize to Yasser Arafat? Apparently, by the way, that was a condition of the deal of the Oslo Accord. So it shows you what a disaster that whole thing was. Yes, you got to make sure the terrorist leader gets a Nobel Peace Prize. Anybody remember who Alfred Nobel was? Invented dynamite. Can we just all remember that for a second? That guy knew how to party. Anyway, you would think that the whole Ceasefire Now gang would be ecstatic. Right? Wouldn't you be ecstatic right now? You've been saying there's a genocide happening. You've been calling for a ceasefire for 2 years, even before Israel started a war. You've been calling for a ceasefire. Well, where's all the ceasefire now, people? Where are they? Where's all the ceasefire? I haven't seen any of them. Where's Bernie Sanders? Genocide. There's a genocide. I mean, he's terrible. He's awful. He's been saying this for months now. Worst kind of Jews, as Jewish as a ham sandwich. Where's Bernie Sanders? Really quiet right now. Where's Rashida Tlaib? Where's Ilhan Omar? Where's AOC? Where's any of these lunatics? Haven't heard from any of them. Democratic Representative Dan Goldman was on CNN yesterday. Can't even give Trump credit for this. He's wearing one of the hostage pins that I wear while he does this, which shows he is completely full of crap. Let me tell you what's happening in the Jewish community right now. Everybody who they called warmongers, everybody who they said just want to blow up all the Palestinians, they're the ones who are celebrating right now that this war is over. And all the ceasefire now crowd, they're in mourning. They're sitting Shiva. They're sad. Why? Because they don't get to point to the pictures of war anymore and go, oh, what's it really about? They don't like Israel. What's it really about? They don't like Jews. What's it really about? They don't like America. They thought this was a way in. And the horseshoe theory of the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens and all the other lunatics on that side who are spewing the same kind of vitriolic nonsense, it's amazing how much they have in common. Mehdi Hassan, the guy who said we were all animals and pigs because we weren't Islamists, who somehow got a job on MSNBC, then lost his job on MSNBC, has been retweeting all these people. If Mehdi Hassan is sharing your garbage, how far have you strayed? Where are all the ceasefire now people? It was just a means to an end, whether to get rid of Israel, whether to eradicate Jews, whether to question America. What are they going to do now? What's the new big cause? My guess is they start going after ICE more. My guess is it's going to be, you're going to see all these ICE protests ramp up even more. All the Palestine flags are going to be replaced with Mexican flags or whatever else it is. Just watch. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Here's what Representative Dan Goldman said about Donald Trump after he sealed this peace deal.
I can guarantee you,
and you don't want to deal with the
that
fact
you
that
are on the wrong side of history, because this president is authoritarian and he is a fascist.
Oh my God.
Saying
time out. That is assassination prep language. That is no. I'm sorry. There is
that
violence
is
against Republicans.
Inciting violence.
Oh wait. Hold on.
To characterize the actions.
So what you're saying is the fascist authoritarian president just saved the Middle East? Yeah, Hitler makes peace in the Middle East. I saw that on the Babylon Bee headline, right? That's the direction we're going with this? You guys are absolute lunatics. Absolute lunatics. Trump is going to get a hero's welcome when he's in Israel next week if this all goes according to plan. You will see hundreds of thousands of people take to the streets to be thrilled that this is over. And you know the fascinating thing? It's going to be right, left, and center in Israel. President Trump is like 105% approval rating in Israel. Everybody's going to be celebrating this. Please, God it happens. You want to hear something terrifying, by the way? The Red Cross had to issue some updates to Hamas. Don't overfeed the hostages. Now, this is really, really scary. Do you know the protocols they're using for this? The ones that the U.S. Army came up with, the Allies came up with, when they found the concentration camps. What happened was they were so desperate to feed these starving people that they had huge, huge problems and died, health problems because of it. And we know that Hamas in the past has tried to make them look like they didn't just starve them. Eli Sharabi, the hostage who was freed, I'm in the middle of reading his book right now, said they gave him maybe a pita a day and it was stale and moldy and gross. That's why they look the way they look. Yeah, don't hear the ceasefire now crowd calling that out. Here's what President Trump said about the trip to Israel.
The hostages will be coming back Monday or Tuesday. I'll probably be there. I hope to be there, and we're planning on leaving sometime Sunday, and I look forward to it. And everybody I see is celebrating in Israel, but they're celebrating in many other countries too. A lot of the Muslim and Arab countries, they're celebrating. Everybody's celebrating. Everybody loves the deal. So it's a great honor to have been working on it. And as you know, it's all finalized and done. We've had a lot of terrifically talented people. We've had tremendous support from UAE, Saudi Arabia. Qatar has been unbelievable. Egypt, as you know, and Jordan. Indonesia. I mean, it's. I don't want to leave anybody out. Just so many different countries. It's been incredible. Nobody's seen anything like it. So I think in a year from now, it's going to be great.
Now, not every deal is perfect. Let's talk about the Qatari air base in the U.S. for a second. It's not a Qatari air base. What they are doing is they are training the Qataris to fly U.S. fighter jets that we are selling them. Is this a good deal? No. Is any deal perfect? No. We did the same thing for Iran, and look how that worked out. They've got F-14s. Well, maybe that's going to be okay because Maverick can actually steal one if he needs to get back to his aircraft carrier with Goose's son. It's for a happy ending in that Top Gun movie. Maybe. But do I like the idea of training people who supported Hamas, who encouraged Hamas to keep the hostages, and who are currently sheltering the Hamas heads in Qatar? No, I don't. But no deal is perfect. No deal is perfect. Do I like this? No, I really don't. However, you heard at the top of the hour about China now having 100% tariff. Us now imposing 100% goods tariffs on China. The reason for that, what's going on right now, is China is now saying we're going to withhold a whole bunch of stuff from the international community, especially from the U.S. China is mad they are losing their foothold in the Middle East. They are mad that Russia is collapsing and that the U.S. is supporting Ukraine. China was trying to be the anti-U.S., and now they're losing all that. They said, okay, we're going to cut off our minerals. We're going to cut off anything else we ship over there. The reason is because all these countries are connected. So for the Ceasefire Now crowd, who's the anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-democracy, pro-socialist, pro-communist, pro-LGBTQIA, pro-whatever else it is, they were on the side of China. They were on the side of Iran. They were on the side of Russia, even though they all have Ukrainian flags next to the Palestinian flags, next to the rainbow flags in their bios. These people just do not understand how the world works. So just to circle back to this for a minute, who does the Nobel Peace Prize Committee actually award this stuff to? Somebody who's achieving peace in the Middle East, who's moving the whole world toward democracy? What are they looking for when they award this thing?
U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said that it would be an insult to the United States if he doesn't get it. What does as the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this, and how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters, domestically and internationally, affected the deliberations and the thinking in the committee?
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee have seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
Courage and nobility. Yasser Arafat. that's whose portrait is hanging in that room. Courage and nobility. You know what else President Trump proved here? Peace through strength. For years, for decades, U.S. foreign policy has been, we don't really want to win this war. We just want everybody to go back to their corners. You know what that causes? More conflicts down the road. America has forgotten how to win wars. President Trump hasn't. Peace through strength. Here's the carrot. Here's the stick. You do what we want? Great. We're going to be great business partners. Maybe I'll get a golf course in Qatar or whatever the case may be. But if you are not going to play ball, we're going to bomb you back to the Stone Age with the newer versions of Alfred Nobel's invention. Unbelievable how few people understand how this works. And President Trump has broken the mold and shown how you can get peace through strength. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Paul in Puyallup. Paul, what's up?
Hey, I just want to remind people, enemies, foreign and domestic. So now we have gotten rid of the enemies outside of the country. Now Trump can work on the enemies within the country. I thought it was a great thing that he didn't get it because it's nothing for him. His main idea in the White House is to protect the interest of Americans. It's unfortunate, especially when you listen to the people from Illinois. I just can't understand it, Ari. And I just want to bless you because, man, Israel is just celebrating that they are the victors in this thing that's going on, man.
Yeah,
And I
it's
just
really
hope that we can-
amazing to watch. It really, really is. You know,
It is.
Israel doesn't really like celebrating fascists, right? Representative Goldman called President Trump a fascist. Wow, he's really going to look like an idiot when hundreds of thousands of people are cheering a fascist, quote unquote, right? In fact, Robin Lakewood texted into the show. He said Trump's third term should be as Israeli prime minister. Paul, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is trying to get Trump's attention so that he can run against him. Dude, you got bigger problems than that. You're going to lose this election. We'll tell you why. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The text line, a lot of you are saying, yeah, we don't even want Trump to win the thing. It's completely irrelevant because of the people I listed, including especially Barack Obama. Do we even really even want him on that list? So you got to ask yourself this question at all. Has the Nobel Prize made itself completely irrelevant? Does anybody even actually care that anybody wins this thing anymore? I really don't think so. It's been so politicized. Would you want him to even win it the next time around? This one here from Becky and Enumclaw. Trump is too good for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, I agree. At this point, I don't even think we should even be trying for this kind of stuff. Just let it go and let themselves become irrelevant, like the Oscars, like the Grammys, like the Golden Globes, which nobody watches anymore. How many people pay attention? Who wins a Nobel Prize? Switching gears, who's really desperate to get Trump's attention? Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell. His calculation is, if he can get President Trump to do something here and he can look like he's the resistance, then he might actually have a chance of winning the mayoral race. Bruce Harrell is in such deep trouble right now. I've even heard from people who shall remain nameless that his campaign knows how much trouble they're in right now. And they're really concerned about losing this thing. And it's been all unforced errors on their part. Plus, it's been whoever's running his campaign is an absolute moron. You've lost everybody in the center. And you think the progressives are going to choose the guy who's a fake progressive, who's just trying to be a progressive? No. What's his new big game plan? We're going to ban ICE from Seattle. Dude, you don't have the authority to do that. Second of all, and here's my favorite part of this, it's already banned. It's already banned. What do I mean by that? You already have the Keep Washington Working Act, otherwise known as the thing that made us a sanctuary state. Seattle adopted its own version of this years ago, which made Seattle a sanctuary city. King County just re-upped their sanctuary county nonsense. What exactly are you doing by this? This executive order you are signing isn't worth the paper it is printed on. He signed 2 executive orders aimed at countering what he described as federal overreach by the Trump administration. One to prepare for potential troop deployments in Seattle. What are you going to do, Bruce? You going to send the police department after them? What police department? You haven't been able to recruit anybody. What are you going to do? Send the activist brigade after them? And then another one is protections for immigrant and refugee communities. The first order directs the city to coordinate legal and intergovernmental responses if President Trump attempts to deploy federalized National Guard troops here in Seattle. Hang on a second. So you're worried about the federal agents who are here to get rid of the criminals, but you're not worried about the criminals. Oh, right. Who am I kidding? Bruce Harrell doesn't want to put criminals behind bars. He wants to get to know them. He wants to have coffee with them. That's what he said about prolific offenders, right? Right? Uh-huh. Okay. He said the move is in response to Trump's escalating rhetoric about using American cities as training grounds for the military. He says, we do not need federal troops in Seattle. You're the idiot who had the police department stand down during the riots at the federal building. That was you. You did that. This is the soft on crime approach he has. He also doesn't want them wearing masks in Seattle. Okay, dude. You know what you did? You allowed Hamasniks to take over your city and march through the streets for the last 2 years wearing masks. You didn't have a problem with that. You didn't have a problem with Antifa showing up at any of the event. Those guys love wearing masks. This is just an attention getter. He's trying to be like, notice me, notice me, notice me. Or he's poking. He's the meme with the stick. Do something, do something, do something. And meanwhile, Trump is pulling a Thanos. I don't even know who you are. Bruce Harrell is so desperate to win this election, he's going to lose this election by his own stupidity. Mike was joking earlier when we were out in the bullpen. He said, there's another debate tonight. Nobody's watching any of these unless we do a reaction. Right. Unless we do a reaction video. And Bruce Harrell keeps saying the same stuff over and over again. It's amazing that he's losing to the idiot socialist who can't form a coherent economic plan because he continues to say the dumbest things. We should be showcasing Katie Wilson, and we have, how she doesn't understand the economy. But his dumb comments are overshadowing her stupidity. So as opposed to her lack of experience being on display, Bruce Harrell's lack of wanting to enforce the law is what's on display. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our friend, Transit Joe. Joe, what's going on, man?
A lot of things. Let's start with, let's talk about that PDC warning letter that Governor Bob Ferguson got this week.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, thank you, because nailed him over lying about those initiatives, and really made clear that I was inspired to do it because guys like you stood up and really took on the fight against anti-Semitism, and it was time to pressure Bob Ferguson to do something. Well, guess what our friends, the Jewish Federation, shared.
You know what the problem with the Jewish Federation is? I saw the letter you sent, Joe. I saw that one. And you know my problem with the Jewish Federation? Where have they been for the last 2 years? Where have they been for the last 2 years?
They've been fighting behind the scenes.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't. Trust me. Who's behind the scenes? They have not. They ran 2 rallies, and that's about it. And now they're trying to claim like they're the big heroes. Did you notice who they said they're partnering up with to combat anti-Semitism? Did you notice who it was?
Yes, our good friends at the ADL.
Our good friends at the ADL, the ones who will not mark anything that happened in the last 2 years left-wing violence. The ones who wouldn't do anything when my family got attacked and many others like me because they don't like our politics. You really think this is going to fix anything? Because guess what? They've been partnering with the ADL for years now.
Okay, well, we'll see how this goes, but there's more bad news. We better all come together, figure out how we're going to fight these guys, because I monitor the Instagram accounts of the anti-Semites around here, and they're already plotting to keep protesting Amazon, UW, et cetera, et cetera. And
that's what they're going to. That's what they're going to do. I think what's going to happen though is eventually they're going to turn on ice. They're going to say, you know what, nobody's paying attention to this anymore because peace is breaking out in the Middle East if everything goes according to plan. And then they're going to pivot over to the ice insanity. Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. Appreciate you keeping up the fight. You want to be part of the show? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, the Democrats once again own the shutdown and keep clowning themselves in the process of owning the shutdown. We'll tell you the latest stupidity when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The Democrats own the shutdown. And if service members aren't getting paid, let's do the math. The House of Representatives, which the Republicans control, voted for the continuing resolution to keep the government funded another few months while they work on the budget. The Senate has 52 votes. Rand Paul, one Republican, voted against this thing because he votes against everything. The rest are Democrats, 7 Democrats who are refusing to vote for this thing. Simple math. You need 60 to break the filibuster. The Democrats won't do it. So if the Democrats won't do it, whose shutdown is it? For right now, the support is still behind the Republicans. The question is, how long does this go on for? Now, we know Chuck Schumer, in those clips we played yesterday, wants it to go on as long as possible because he says this.
Each day, our case to fix health care and end the shutdown gets better and better, stronger and stronger.
So he thinks that people being miserable and not getting paid makes their case better and better, bigger and bigger. Well, you know who is still getting paid? Members of Congress. Hakeem Jeffries got called out on this just during a press conference earlier today.
We're already seeing paychecks missed, soldiers lining up at food kitchens. Are you concerned that this fight for health care that Democrats are waging here might end up hurting Americans the longer the shutdown drags out?
Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They decided to shut the government down. Republicans
If you guys keep repeating that same bad line, anybody who could do math is going to know you're full of it.
in the House have decided to remain on vacation. Republicans canceled votes last week, they canceled votes this week, and now they've canceled votes next week. They're not serious about reopening the government. Republicans aren't even serious about paying our active duty troops.
But they have voted for temporary government funding legislation.
Republicans have voted for a partisan spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people.
So wait a second. Even though they voted for something that would pay the service members and federal workers, you guys still rejected it. You guys still rejected it. You see how quickly he cut off that reporter because he didn't want them finishing the rest of what they were saying? Hakeem Jeffries repeating the same stale talking points ain't going to work. It's just not. So who do they call in? Representative Tim McBride. Wait, is it Tim? Is it Jay? I forget what the actual name is, right? Because this is the transgender member of Congress. I want you to listen to this quote, knowing that this is a man pretending to be a woman who's saying it.
We are in this position because Republicans have refused to come to the table to work with us over the last several months. And because of their refusal to collaborate with us, put on their big boy pants and negotiate.
I'm sorry, what'd you just say? Put on the big boy pants and negotiate? Okay, this is who you're sending in to settle the shutdown. Guys, your talking points ain't working for you anymore. Because anybody who knows how government works is going to blame you guys for this. What they are counting on is ignorant Americans who don't know how government works, who believe everything they see on MSNBC. They are counting on that. The good news is not a lot of people watch MSNBC. For right now, the polling is still on the Republican side. What the president have to say about this just a couple days ago.
To begin firing federal employees during this government shutdown.
That's taking place right now, and it's all because of the Democrats. The Democrats are causing the loss of a lot of jobs with their, it's a shutdown. It's their shutdown, not our shutdown. It's their shutdown.
By the way, that's entertaining. You know why? Because the Democrats claim they want to save all these federal employees, but now they've just given the opportunity for Trump to start firing federal employees by doing this. So they think that's going to get them more support. They think it's going to get them more votes. No, not really, my friends. Here's what the press secretary had to say.
This conversation about layoffs would not be happening right now if the Democrats did not vote to shut the government down. And as I also said last briefing as well, we are $37 trillion in debt, and the government is not receiving any cash. So someone has to look at the balance sheet and be good stewards of the American taxpayer dollar. And layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of that.
Do you know the Democrats have another problem, too? Is anybody talking about the shutdown, or are they all talking about the peace deal? And when they talk about the peace deal, they see a full cabinet room. They see the Trump administration doing business as usual. They see peace deals breaking out. They said, why do we even need the federal government? So the people who aren't federal workers are saying, my life is fine with the federal government closed. The people who are federal workers are starting to have paycheck problems. And the Democrats don't care. Let's be clear again why the Democrats are doing this, why Chuck Schumer is doing this. if they work with the Trump administration, if they work with Republicans, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar will not let them forget it and will run against them. They will primary them. Chuck Schumer is holding on to his Senate seat by his fingernails because AOC is more popular than him, who's rotting in the Senate. So he is holding on for dear life to that power. And you know, the problem is the message isn't getting through. What are you seeing instead? You're seeing Witkoff, Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, and Netanyahu talking about this massive peace deal.
We're at a momentous development in the last 2 years. We fought during these 2 years to achieve our war aims. And a central one of these war aims is to return the hostages, all of the hostages, the living and the dead. And we're about to achieve that goal. We couldn't have achieved it without the extraordinary help of President Trump and his team, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They worked tirelessly with Ron and his team, our team. That and the courage of our soldiers who entered Gaza and the combined military and diplomatic pressure that isolated Hamas, I think, has brought us to this point. I want to personally thank both of you, Steve, Jared. It's been long hours. You worked around the clock, but not only worked, I think you put in your brains and your hearts. And we know that it's for the benefit of Israel and the United States, for the benefit of decent people everywhere.
He's 100% right. He's 100% right. So you've got Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, sitting right there. You've got Trump's son-in-law sitting right there because he's the one who helped with the Abraham Accords. You've got foreign leaders praising President Trump. You've got the Middle East praising President Trump. And the Democrats refuse to work for him. Why? Because they're worried about holding on to power. Those contrasts could not be more clear, which is why, for now, the Democrats are still on the losing end of this shutdown. If the polls change, then you might see things change. But for right now, nothing is breaking through. The ceasefire noise, the ICE noise, all that is sucking up all the oxygen in the room that most people don't even realize a shutdown is even happening. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Trevor Noah was never funny. I think I found him funny once when he was bashing Obama during the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I didn't find him funny on The Daily Show. I didn't find him funny before The Daily Show. I certainly haven't found him funny after The Daily Show. He was basically The Daily Show's DEI hire who then ran the thing into the ground. So bad that they had to bring back Jon Stewart and an array of other people to run The Daily Show. Well, he was doing stand-up the other day, and he decided to joke about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Some things are not off limits to... In fact, you know what? I'm going to rephrase that. Nothing is off limits to comedians, but there's a rule. If you're going to be disgusting, if you're going to be rude, if you're going to be political, it better be funny. Because if it's not funny, then you get all the flack for it. And personally, I think that's exactly what Trevor Noah wanted. Here's what he said.
Meanwhile, here, comedians are shitting themselves. Don't say anything about Charlie Kirk. I wasn't going to say anything about... Yeah, but don't say anything about Charlie. I wasn't going to say anything about Charlie Kirk, but don't. There's nothing funny about it. Oh, now you tested me. I mean, there's nothing funny about it? You can't say there's nothing funny about it. Oh, there's nothing fun. No, don't say that, because as a comedian, I'll be like, I'm sure there's something funny about it. The guy was shot while defending guns. Do you understand how... I'm not even writing that as a joke. As a human, you have to admit that is an incongruous, funny thing that happens. You are there, you're like on stage, and you're like, let me tell you why people should have guns. Wapa!
Okay. I try to have a sense of humor about things. I don't get why some people are even laughing in that room. Maybe it's the people who like the fact that Charlie Kirk's dead, which shows that the left has a violence problem. It really does. I don't see the humor in any of that. I just don't get it. I think stand-up comedians have completely forgotten how to be funny. They don't even know how to be funny anymore because they all think they're political pundits. Here's Jimmy Kimmel the other night.
You understand... There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa. This is no different than if they announced they rounded up a dozen Decepticons. We've captured the Chupacabra, everyone. And then it was Trump's turn to ratchet up the rhetoric with fiery images conjured from no one has any idea where.
Okay, I'm tired of this nonsense. This is why people don't watch your shows anymore. This is why, Trevor Noah, you don't have a show anymore. You know what's fascinating about what's happening in Portland, and we're going to discuss this later on the show? What's happening in Portland is that now that the feds are there, the real Antifa psychos aren't really doing their violence anymore. In fact, now it's a whole bunch of weirdos in giant dinosaur inflatable costumes making trouble. And why is that happening now? Now Portland media is more than happy to cover it because they can say, this is what's been for 4 months. You guys haven't been there for 4 months. You guys showed up this week. Now that Antifa is petrified about getting arrested. The left can't meme. The left has no sense of humor. That's why they don't understand the sombrero thing. I don't know why the sombrero thing is funny. I don't. I really just don't. I just know that it is. The left's attempts to be funny about any of this just aren't working. I don't know if you've seen the social media during the shutdown from the Trump administration. First of all, it doesn't look like it's shut down at all. But second of all, they keep doing graphics like hand-drawn things saying, well, we had to furlough our social media people, so here you get a stick figure. I don't know why that's funny. It just is. I think the problem with these pundits is they want to do what I do. These comedians want to do what I do. Guys, if you want to have political shows, go work for MSNBC. I'm sure they'd happily have you. I'm sure even CNN would happily have you. You want to discuss politics, do that. But you're not very good at comedy. I mean, if you guys want to head on over there, be my guest. It's a little crazy that these guys still think they can make people laugh. It's crazy that some people are even laughing at those jokes. I don't know what was funny about it at all. I really just don't. Hear from Phyllis over on the Warrior Injury Law text line. Ari, it's a shame the media cannot acknowledge the significance of what has happened between Israel and Hamas. With the help of the United States and our President Donald Trump regarding the Nobel Peace Award, it seems to me that the prize is not really about peace. Question, I've been seeing no king signs at SR 900 and I-90. They look professionally made, have a date at the bottom of October 18th. Does anybody at KVI know what these signs would be for? Yeah, I know exactly what they are. First of all, tearing them down, which is suggested here. Okay, Phyllis, don't tear them down. Let me tell you why. It's a bad optic. Whether or not they should legally be up there or not, then they're going to take the video of you tearing them down and say, see, Republicans are trying to stop our freedom of speech and our right to protest. Don't do that. The people who are going to go are going to go. You're not going to go. Here's what's happening. The shutdown is going to last through October 18th. You know why? Because the Democrats already had the flyers made for the No Kings nonsense. That's why. Pramila Jayapal is pushing it on her social media for people to be strike ready and street ready. The No Kings thing is an example of what they're doing. They're going to culminate and say, our king has shut down the federal government and federal employees aren't getting paid anymore, blah, blah, blah. That's what they're going to do. Meanwhile, none of them said anything about King Inslee. None of them said anything about him having emergency powers for 975 days. Not one word about it. Also, Pramila Jayapal, the supporter of Hamas, the supporter of Iran, the supporter of every terrorist regime. Last time I checked, those are the dictatorships. You're going to go out there and march against no kings? Spare me. Spare me. This one here from the 360. Ari, I'm a federal employee, a DOD civilian who is on furlough. I'm really sorry to hear that, 360. Some DOD civilians are still working due to their positions being designated as essential, which is an official policy term that entails some latitude on leadership discretion. Mainly applies to immediate day-to-day operations. Yet those of us deemed non-essential during the government shutdown are still vital to the overall DoD mission, including support services for active duty service members. Some conservative commentators don't seem to understand this nuance. They call it all non-essential federal workers to be permanently laid off. Yes, I agree with you, 360, and that's a very, very important point, where they keep saying the essential versus non-essential again. The guy who brings the bullets to the airplane is an essential person. The guy who makes sure there's gas in the truck that goes to the airplane is an essential person. And I would argue that so many people who work for our military who just because they're not flying an F-18 or because they're not on the battleground, people think aren't essential. They don't understand they actually are. This sucks for you guys. Unfortunately, the only solution I have for you right now is to lean on the Democrats because they record those phone calls, they record those messages, and if they see they're getting calls 10-1 against them supporting the shutdown, then you know what? They might actually change because they may be worried about losing your votes. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends, including Washington officials backtracking on a law that would have made priests break the confessional. Couldn't believe the Democrats backtrack on this one. We'll tell you why when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Antifa leaders are fleeing the U.S., probably afraid of what's coming to them with the National Guard being federalized. But before we get to any of that, Bob Ferguson lost a legal case today. Now, this doesn't happen that often. Oh, who am I kidding? Yes, it actually does. And I'm kind of wondering if he's playing 3D chess here, 4D chess here. Let me tell you what's going on. Washington State is now no longer pursuing this idea that priests have to break the seal of the confessional and report what they hear from people who are confessing to them to the authorities. This was really in terms of repeating anything they heard about child molestation, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I have a question about this. And I've been thinking about this for a long time because I understand if there's a problem, we need to address the problem. But you have the First Amendment, and you can get defrocked if you guys break the seal of confession. I get that. So here's my question, though. Have there been a lot of examples of people confessing to priests and then the priest not reporting it? Last time I checked, what the controversy was over, and this seems to be a little left over from it, was some priests doing some things they shouldn't have been doing. In either case, this thing is clearly a violation of the First Amendment. My religion doesn't work this way. You don't confess to your rabbi. Your rabbi's there to give you rulings, to give you guidance, to give you whatever. It's not there as a confessional person. You can talk to them. They can counsel you. They can do that. But you don't go through the rabbi to get to heaven. That's not how it works in Judaism. So I don't really have a frame of reference for how this works in Catholicism. But this thing was clearly against the First Amendment from the start. When we had Senator Noel Frame on the show, we actually got a little contentious. And Mike knows this. I usually don't get contentious with our Democrat guests. But what happened was she said, well, I'm a survivor of this abuse, that abuse. I said, I'm very sorry to hear that. That doesn't change the fact that it has First Amendment problems. And she got really not so happy about that, shall we just say. This thing had problems from the beginning, and what I don't understand is why Bob Ferguson signed it. Why would Bob Ferguson sign this thing? I will tell you why. You have to think like Bob Ferguson. You have to think deviously from Bob Ferguson. How do we think about this? Here's how. Bob Ferguson says, if I sign this, the lefties will like me. And I can blame Trump for overturning this because it's always about Trump. By the way, this didn't even get to the Supreme Court. This didn't even get that far. But that's what they're going to try and do. Got this press release from the Thomas More Society, which hails a complete victory for religious freedom and church autonomy after Washington state officials agreed to a permanent injunction against Washington Senate Bill 5375. The statute would have stripped the clergy penitent privilege and forced priests to report confessional disclosures. TMS proudly filed an amicus brief on behalf of Bishop Robert Barron in support of the challenge. The agreed permanent injunction declares that SB 5375 violates the free exercise of religion protected by the First Amendment and affirms that the government may not compel clergy to violate sacred sacramental obligations and choose between going to jail or practicing their faith. Quote, this is a historic victory for religious liberty, said Michael McHale, senior counsel of the Thomas More Society. Washington's experiment in singling out the confessional seal for a specific opprobrium was unconstitutional from the start. Legislatures who think they can target disfavored religious practices with impunity should take note. The law failed. It failed decisively. We're deeply grateful for Bishop Robert Barron for his steadfast leadership and moral clarity on this issue. His voice served as a reminder the seal of confession is not a policy choice, but a sacred duty rooted in centuries of faith and freedom. The injunction will protect the sacramental confidentiality fundamental to Catholics, perseveres the autonomy of the church, and rebukes lawmakers who attempted to weaponize the criminal law to impose their ideology at the expense of religious freedom. McHale added, Washington's politicians thought they could score political points by attacking the church, and instead they exposed their own religious bias and disregard for the Constitution. Now, we're going to ask Mr. McHale to come on the show because I have a question. I wonder if we're all being played. I wonder if we're all being played by Bob Ferguson because you know what they get to claim now? The conservatives want to keep your kids at risk from the Catholic priest. That's what they're going to do. You know that's what they're going. We signed the law. What are they hiding? What are the conservatives hiding? And if we say, okay, now do teachers, right? If we say, now do what are they doing at Seattle Children's Hospital? What are they doing in Seattle Public Schools? They don't want you to know what that is all about. You know, we have all these shootings in schools, and it's tragic. It's awful. We have all these violence in schools. And you know what's never talked about? Cameras. You know why they never talk about cameras? Because then they're subject to public disclosure. And then you will know everything these teachers are brainwashing your kids with in school, which is why they don't do it. This thing right here, I think, was actually Bob Ferguson playing 4D chess. I really, really do. I think he knew this would never survive a court challenge. It didn't even get very far. This is basically Washington state officials agreed to a permanent injunction. Agreed to it. Why would Nick Brown agree to this unless he saw a bright side? Well, this way he gets to say, look, I love Catholics. When he runs for governor, see, you Catholics, you religious people, I fought for you. I fought against this because it was unconstitutional. This thing is actually all win for the Democrats. Because by the time you guys say, look what you tried to pass, they're going to say, well, we fought against it. Ferguson's going to be trying to run for higher office. That's why he was playing chess with Joe Biden yesterday. This is about Nick Brown trying to become your governor. I saw some media outlets already framing it that way. Nick Brown fights the challenge on behalf of... Spare me. Spare me. I could tell you what this is about. You know what this is about. Switching gears entirely to other things that are happening locally, Washington State Ferries has announced anticipated service disruptions across all routes Friday evening, citing a shortage of crew as the cause. Well, maybe you guys shouldn't have fired everybody during COVID. Just a thought. Travelers, particularly those attending the Mariners game, are advised to plan accordingly. Washington State Ferry suggests using public transportation or opting to walk onto the ferry when possible. Extensive delays are expected for those returning home after the game Friday night. Customers are encouraged to check route schedules for available sailings and use the real-time map for updated departure and arrival times. Mariners Game 5 against the Detroit Tigers starts at 5:08 p.m. at T-Mobile Park, and Friday's game will determine if the Mariners advance to the ALCS. So now you're going to have a problem tonight? Of course you're going to have a problem tonight. This was something that should have been anticipated ages ago. You've got the Kraken season starting. You've got the Seahawks going on. But once again, poor planning. For years, they didn't want to have new ferries. By the way, all Democrat governors didn't want to do that. Then Inslee comes along and says, we got to build electric ferries. That delayed things even longer. Now, Ferguson had to go to a company in Florida to get new ferries because they can't build them here. And in the meantime, Ferguson and Inslee were firing workers for the Department of Transportation. Clearly, that's what was going on. Clearly. Speaking of transportation, by the way, if you are part of the Ari resistance against car tabs, right? If you're one of the 600,000 people and growing who aren't paying their car tabs in Washington because you've reached the Laffer curve, what's the Laffer curve? The Laffer curve is when you realize how expensive your taxes are. Is it even worth paying them? That's what the Laffer curve is. So a lot of people said $1,000 to re-register my Tesla every single year. No, thank you. And they just stopped paying their car tabs. And cops aren't pulling over for it a lot of the time. So a lot of people said, you know what, it's worth the risk because if I get pulled over, the fine is cheaper than what they're going to charge me to register my car tabs. How often do I actually get pulled over when the cops have been defunded, when there's so few police around here? Well, now, Sound Transit, the unelected, unaccountable board has a new idea to completely screw you. They're going to do a property tax to ease the $30 billion shortfall. They want a property tax because they know you're going to pay your property taxes. And you know what this is going to happen? People are going to say, well, if I have to pay property taxes for this stupidity also, I was paying my car tabs before. Now I'm really not paying my car tabs. And that number is only going to go higher and they're going to have less money. In addition to that, Sound Transit, which can never run on time, which can never run on schedule, which can never run on budget. No amount of money will ever be enough for them. You know how I know this? They say, okay, well, this is our big transit plan. What, you think they're going to stop with that? They have figured out the ultimate grift. They could take property through eminent domain. They could take your money. They are unelected. They are unaccountable. Why do you think they would ever give this up, even if they finish everything that's in ST10 or whatever we're up to these days? They will not stop. So now they're talking about a property tax. A property tax when they already claim that all these counties are unaffordable. That's unaffordable to live in Washington state. It's insane. Absolutely insane. My question to all of you is, are you going to continue to pay your car tabs? Are you paying your car tabs right now? I want to know. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take call from Marilyn in Tacoma. Marilyn, what's up? Hello. Going once, going twice. Marilyn, are you there? Turn down the radio. I hear myself.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, what's up?
I just wonder why it is that you continue to feed into the left this, left that, left, Democrats. Don't you think that's making things worse for this country?
How is it making things worse for this country by calling out what the other side is doing?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say calling it out. What I would call it is you're creating a division in this country.
So I'm creating the division by calling out the division that people are creating by saying, oh, we are going to demonize the other side as fascists.
I'm not saying you in particular. Don't take it.
You said personal. Me. You said me, Marilyn. I'm just asking the question. So if you say,
Your
Ari,
radio
you might be a
station.
little too mean to the other side, okay, I will acknowledge that.
There you go.
You know what, Marilyn?
Side.
Marilyn, that's fair.
Why is it always the other side?
Well, because right now, Marilyn, is there a single issue?
Other side?
Is there a single issue that anybody in the Washington State Legislature agrees with me on anything on? They don't even necessarily agree our society should be a capitalist one.
Well, first of all, I can say that I don't want my tabs to increase because of taxes as opposed to my property taxes. But that doesn't mean that I fall in a category of that side, the left, the Democrat. I mean, I don't get it. I'm a Republican, not a Democrat.
Excellent.
So, but at what point does it stop?
You know what the problem is right now? I'm going to tell you the problem right now, Marilyn. Here's the problem right now. Mike knows this. Aside from Adam Smith, we invite every single Democrat on this show every time we have a problem with them. The majority of them refuse to even come on the show. The majority of them don't even want to return requests for comment. Bruce Harrell has been in office for almost 4 years. And in those 4 years, do you know how many times they've returned a request for comment? Take a guess.
I don't know.
Zero. Zero. Bob Ferguson's been in office for, 8, 9 months, as long as Donald Trump now. You know how many times they've returned requests for comment?
I don't know. Maybe they're part of not wanting to feed into the problem that's at hand in this country, which is division.
You think Bob Ferguson isn't feeding into the division of this country when he demonizes anybody who likes Trump on the regular?
Well, I don't much care for him myself. I think he's the cause of the division in this country.
Okay. All right. So then, if we think he's the cause of the division, and you and I agree that he's one of the people causing the division, am I wrong for calling out that they're causing the division? Does me calling out the division make it worse?
I just think that radio stations, TV stations, they all need to find different material. This has been going on for how many years?
Marilyn, I'll tell you what. If I can walk down the streets of Seattle and not have to trip over homeless people and not have to worry about getting plucked by needles in the parks, I will happily cover the Mariners, even though I'm a Mets fan, okay?
Okay. Well, I've been to Seattle a few times, and I just know that if you see a gang of people on a corner, go around the block.
Okay, but that's the problem, Marilyn, when you say, I have to go around the block and I can't walk the streets of my city. When I first moved here, Seattle, I would tell everybody it's so clean. I love it here. You can eat off the ground, maybe not in Pioneer Square, but you can eat off the ground. It's wonderful. It's so clean. Now look at it, Maryland. We're a national joke. A national joke. And our elected officials, as opposed to saying, you know what, you guys have some points, let's fix that stuff. Bruce Harrell, by doing what he does. Bob Ferguson, by doing what he does. Bob Ferguson cannot get through a sentence without mentioning Donald Trump or Republicans. Bruce Harrell now is doing the exact same thing. Every single elected official has said, Trump, bad. Anybody who supports him, bad. Fascists. I don't think I'm the problem here. I think the problem is most officials don't feel like they're accountable to any of the voters and don't even care. Did you see Katie Porter's comments this week? She's running for governor of California. Katie Porter literally said she doesn't care about the people who don't vote for her. You're not elected to just be the person who's in charge of the Democrats in your state.
Bingo.
Okay.
That's the person running our country. He doesn't care about the other side.
You don't think he cares about the other side? He keeps asking them for their praise. I think he definitely does care about the other side. And here's something else. Every issue he has taken on is an 80-20 issue, which is why the polling on those issues are the one he takes on. I think 100% he does care about those people, even if they call him Nazi, even if they call, for example, Hamas. Why do you take that on? What, you think the people marching in the streets who are calling for a ceasefire now, why aren't they praising the ceasefire?
Because it's not completely finished yet.
Yeah, and what does it take for it to finish, Marilyn? Walk it through. What are the steps for us?
I don't have the answers, or I would be running this country.
Marilyn, they're laid out in his plan. His plan is first you return the hostages. First Israel withdraws to these lines. Then the hostages are returned. If the hostages are returned, then, and it's all laid out in the 20-point plan. The problem is that Hamas has not actually upheld not a single one of these deals every single time they break it. Marilyn, appreciate the conversation. Appreciate you calling into the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Charles in Shelton. Charles, what's up?
Well, right now, with all the Democrats, it's not my IQ.
Thank you. I think our last caller would say that's forming division, don't you?
No, that's facts.
Yeah.
That's facts. Sound Transit taxed the people in different or in regional areas so they can get money from their car tabs. And, I know a lot of people that aren't renewing their car tabs because the taxes keep going up. The police are told not to do anything. So they're going like, why would I continue to pay for something that I'm never going to use?
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. And plus, here's something else. They should also say, why aren't the people who ride the thing paying for it? Sure, some people do, but it's a rolling homeless encampment, and there are no turnstiles stopping anybody from walking on that thing. So if the people who are riding it don't have to pay for it, or they get 1 warning, 2 warning, 3 warning, 4 warning, then they can go to a diversion class and still get out of it and start the process all over again. Why should I pay for the thing? So now they are penalizing all of us for driving.
Plus, I want to say that, but I can't. I don't want to get you in trouble. The thing about the property tax.
Yeah.
Okay. Turd Ferguson already nailed us with a triple property tax.
Yeah.
So you want to do the Democrats really, and I'm saying Democrats, I'm being polite.
Yes.
But, they vote for these people, then they get impregnated by these people.
Whoa, hang on a second.
I
thought the Democrats, I get what you're saying. I think the Democrats are about stopping the pregnant people. I don't think they're about creating more pregnant people, but I know what joke you were trying to make, Charles. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, more of your calls, lots more of your texts. Plus, are Antifa leaders fleeing the country because they're afraid of the Trump administration? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I think it's clear to recap what's going on in Portland right now. After the summit at the White House with our friends Brandy Cruz, Jonathan Cho, Cam Higbee, Katie Daviscourt, Jack Posobiec, Andy Ngo, and so many more, the media has made it their mission to disprove what is happening down in Portland. And the problem is the attention on the situation has actually helped them do it. What do I mean by this? Let's go over the facts for a minute. They have been rioting at that facility since June, since the last No Kings rally. Some quick math. June, July, August, September. 4 months they didn't cover this. 4 months. At the end of September, beginning of October, Trump announces he's sending the feds into Oregon. Everybody freaks out. The only ones still covering this, who've been covering this for 4 months, Katie Daviscourt and the Honey Badger mom. Those are the only two covering this every single night. But then when Trump announces the feds are going in, two things happen. One, more lunatics show up at the ICE facilities. Two, more streamers show up at the ICE facilities. Still, the mainstream media has not shown up. Instead, what are they covering? Trump bad for sending in the National Guard. Trump bad for sending in the National Guard. That's what they're doing. Then something else happens. Antifa decides we don't want big boy charges because they charged, 23, 27 people with federal charges at my last count down at Portland. They can't buy the judges. They can't do that. They know they're in for big boy time. So what do they do instead? They have a new tactic. Make it look as ridiculous as possible so people think there's not real rioting. We've seen all the footage, guys. We've seen everything that happened. So now you've got people in dinosaur costumes. By the way, the dinosaur costumes have multiple purposes, including the fact that they keep away the gas unless you spray it directly into the thing that's blowing up those giant dinosaur inflatable costumes. So what is going on right now is not what has been happening for the last 3 or 4 months. Now, it's very disingenuous of KATU to say, we're setting up a stream camera, 24-hour streaming on the ICE facility now. You guys missed the last 4 months. It's so disingenuous for the Oregonian and Portland officials to say, oh, there's a whole bunch of other things to see here in Portland. Come check out the rest of Portland. We'll show you the rest of Portland. This is only happening in one block. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought you guys said it wasn't happening. Now you're admitting it's happening in one block. Now you're saying it's happening in one block. You guys are liars. You guys are absolute liars. And now you want people to take you seriously? Now they have a new approach. Discredit Cam Higbee, Katie Daviscourt, Brandy Cruz, Jonathan Cho. In fact, the Oregonian wrote a whole hit piece on all of them. And if you actually know what's going on and you actually read this thing, they didn't actually debunk anything they said. It's basically just, we don't like Katie Daviscourt because. We don't like Brandy Cruz because. We don't like Jonathan Cho because. We don't like Cam Higbee because. They're right-wing MAGA influencers. So they write this whole hit piece trying to take them down. This is dishonest journalism. In fact, Cam Higbee, when he was at the White House, also called out the journalists for being dishonest.
Please, Cam.
Yeah, I've just got something very short. I'm attacked every time I do my job. When I leave my house to go to work, I am violently assaulted. I've had guns pulled on me. I've been bear sprayed. I've been beaten down. I've been almost killed. So my question for all of you is, how would you feel if every time you showed up to work, masked militants tried to kill you? Because that's how we feel. That's our lived reality. And you guys go and tell us that we're liars, the riots aren't that bad, right? I've never seen any of you guys on the ground. In fact, I've never seen anybody representing the companies you work for on the ground. You guys come to us for interviews that never get published. Stop saying we're lying. We're not. We risk our lives every day to do the job that you guys are too afraid to do.
What network would you say is the worst, if I could ask?
Oh, man, you're a real tight spot.
Honestly, it's a simple question.
There's a lot of people in this pool, and I would say I'm not talking about Fox. I'm not talking about Newsmax or any outlet that resembles them, so I'll let you guys put the pieces together on who I'm exactly talking about.
Who would you say? Which network?
MSNBC, for sure.
Oh, they're terrible. I agree. They're
CNN, probably
CNN.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, I'd rate it that way, yeah. MSNBC, that's Brian Roberts.
Yeah.
That he allows that to happen is a disgrace.
Absolutely.
And CNN is second.
Yeah.
I would say CNN is not quite as bad as MS.
MSNBC is not really a news site anymore.
Oh, MSNBC is sick.
Yeah.
They're sick.
Well, sir, it's also
else?
just the stories that they publish about what's the ICE enforcement.
Exactly. Exactly right. I love that moment between Cam and President Trump. I have to reach out to Cam. I know he's running around doing his tours of campuses and doing riot coverage. I actually owe him a text and have to ask him to come back on the show to talk about his experience down there, because that's a true moment. Do you remember Fiery but Mostly Peaceful? Do you remember who are the ones who put that out? That was a CNN Chiron. Chiron are those things at the bottom of the screen. That was a CNN Chiron. That was a CNN headline. Julio Rosas, who was in the room also, wrote the book, Fiery but Mostly Peaceful, which I think is the definitive accounting of what happened in 2020 during the Summer of Love. I think he did a stupendous job for that, and if you haven't read the book, you should pick it up because it covers all the riots across the country. It is crazy to me that now the media, as opposed to saying, here's what actually happened, is now trying to debunk it. They are so bad at their jobs, they are now trying to cover for the fact that they didn't cover the story for months and months and months and months. Now it's the biggest story in the country. Now they're playing catch up. You know what they could be covering? How Antifa activists are fleeing the country. According to the post-millennial Rutgers professor, international Antifa financer, and author of the Antifa Handbook, Mark Bray, has declared his intention to flee the United States to run to Europe. Why do you think that is? When they said follow the money, why do you think that is? This is after Trump made the announcement. When the money flees, they know what's coming next. Why is he running to Europe? Why do you think that is? You know exactly what the reason is. The media is so terrible. In fact, when we come back, my friends, I've got an example of our local media being beyond terrible when they did an interview with me just yesterday. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder so that you never miss a minute of the show, make sure you subscribe to our podcast, download the KVI app, so that way you can take us with you anytime, anywhere. Also, check out KVI.com. We're putting up a whole bunch of new content all the time. You can read articles before we even discuss the stories on the air. That's right, my friends. Well, those of you who know me know I never back down from a challenge, and I never turn down an interview. I like interviews. I think they're fun, even when they're with people I disagree with, especially if they're with other media outlets I disagree with. I never say no to an interview. This has been my thing ever since I first got involved in politics. Even when I first was just a community activist, before I ran for office, before anything else. When I was running for office in 2019, The Stranger, which is Seattle's far-left rag, I became their punching bag. They said, we can get content out of this guy by demonizing him on a regular basis, and they did. I used it to fundraise for my campaign, because anytime they wrote something bad about me, put it in an email, send it out, piece of cake, easy. So as much as they were getting clicks off me, I was getting donations off them. That's the game, by the way. Now, something that happened towards the end was they kept coming back for more. More and more and more and more. Because they hadn't had enough and they had nothing else to get clicks off of. Once I was out of the race, there weren't that many interesting candidates anymore, and I think they realized they killed their golden goose, for lack of a better word. So what happened? They had nobody left to pick on, so they kept picking on me. When I was running for office, my family got anti-Semitic death threats. These things were posted on social media. These things were called out by national organizations. These things were investigated by the FBI and the Seattle Police Department. The Seattle Stranger is the only outlet that asked me to prove that it happened. Because they didn't want to acknowledge that it actually happened. That's how biased they are. In fact, nobody on the left wanted to acknowledge it actually happened. Meanwhile, Cairo 7 broke the story. Como, King 5, all of them, Fox 13, they all covered this because it was out on the internet for anybody to see. In fact, it was picked up by an internet watchdog group that monitors hate sites. They're the ones that broke the story. But rather than going to the source, they came to me to see if it was actually true. I found out about the death threats from that site and from a note on my house from the SPD FBI task force. We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. No, they were trying to reach me because I was offline for a Jewish holiday when all this happened. The Stranger then decided it was a good idea to mock the death threats on me and my family. They did that in their election guide, even when I was already out of the race. At that moment, I decided, you know what, I really don't need to do anything with The Stranger ever again. I'll just ignore him. And you know what, nobody reads it anyway, so who cares? Now, I didn't know I was going to become a radio host. I didn't know I was going to become a media figure. And I haven't really heard from The Stranger since. Haven't heard from them at all. Until the King County elections asked me to once again write a statement opposing a tax that is coming out because for some reason, Republicans never show up for the fight. They asked me to write a statement in opposition of the Family's Education Preschool and Promise Levy renewal. What this thing is a $1.3 billion tax, which is going to expand and replace an existing tax. And what they are going to do with this existing tax is they are going to use it to funnel more money into the public school system, which will be a colossal failure because there's no accounting for the money whatsoever. So I got reached out to by Natalie Graham from The Stranger. Natalie Graham was the reporter who used to bash me all the time, one of the ones who mocked the death threats against me and my family. But I said, you know what, maybe there's something in this. I spoke to Mr. KVI, I spoke to Mike, I spoke to everybody. I said, you know what, yeah, maybe there's something worth this. We'll get some content for the show at the very, very least. So I replied, yeah, I'm more than happy to do the interview. Can we move it because of a Jewish holiday? And can I record the thing? I got back a yes, which I was shocked by. Shocked that I got back the yes. So we set up the thing, and this was supposed to be yesterday. Yesterday I show up, got the recorder running, the screen capture running, ready to record the Zoom meeting that we're having. And then The Stranger comes right out with it and starts a debate. Number one, they never told me this was going to be a debate of any kind of me and the other side, or I would have prepped differently. Number two, they said at the outset, no recording whatsoever. Why would you do that? So I challenged them and I said, wait, guys, I accepted this on condition that I could record it because you guys are not journalists and you guys have a tendency to twist words. I didn't say the last part out loud, but that's what's running through my mind. I'm still trying to be somewhat nice. I said, whoa, wait. You said I could record this thing. And they said, no, that wasn't the agreement. Natalie Graham, I don't know which one was which. There's like 5 of them on a camera. I don't even know what they look like. But didn't seem like it was Natalie Graham was the one saying, no, we would never say something like that. Natalie Graham, the coward that she is, never stepped up and said, oh, that may have been a miscommunication. No, I didn't get an email till afterwards. Oh, that was a miscommunication. Sure, like I believe you. These aren't actual journalists. So there I am debating the other side, and my main focal point of this thing is you guys have so much money for public education, you misspend it, and the studies that were done on this thing show mismanagement, show that the money wasn't spent effectively, and show that this thing has not had an actual impact on education. Now you're asking to renew it. So we did this for a while. And afterwards, I get the apology. Sorry for the miscommunication. Well, if it was a miscommunication, why'd you announce the no recording right at the outset? I'm suspicious of that. My other favorite point was when I said I didn't know this was going to be a debate, and they said it's an endorsement meeting. Like that's supposed to mean something? I've done this with the Seattle Times. I've done this with other outlets in town, and it's just you presenting your ideas. When it's going to be a debate with the other side, they tell you it's going to be a debate with the other side. Let's be clear. The Stranger, they're not journalists. They were doing what they always do. They wanted me for clicks. They want to get the clicks out of this so they can demonize Ari Hoffman because they saw an opportunity to do it again. And stupid me gave them the opportunity. Because I thought to myself, let's try to be nice. Maybe they're trying to mend fences. Maybe they're trying to make up a little bit. Maybe they're trying to actually engage in good faith because they just fired a whole bunch of people from their staff. Maybe they're turning over a new leaf. I should have known better. So I put the question out to all of you. If I get contacted by the Stranger again, should I actually do the interview, or is it not even worth my time? What do you think? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. My favorite part of this discussion, they brought up the pandemic. I don't remember if it was the Stranger or the people who are in favor of this tax. They brought up loss of learning during the pandemic, and I said, if you want to fix loss of learning during the pandemic, why don't you tell your teachers' unions that you support all the time that they shouldn't have kept the kids out of school for 2 years and that they should add time to the school calendar and that they should add hours in the school day so that the kids can make up the lost learning. Instead, you guys just decide to move on. And then it was, oh, no, we don't want to discuss the pandemic. We don't want to relitigate the pandemic. Then at the end, there was something funny where they almost forgot to discuss school safety. And they had mentioned something about school safety in the closing arguments. And then when they said, no, we'll discuss that offline. What, you afraid of me mentioning that you guys banned all the cops? And that when you say school safety, you don't actually mean school safety, and this is probably just going to go to DEI classes or something else like this? This was one of the biggest bleep shows I have ever seen in politics. This was an absolute disaster. But it shows what the Stranger is and why they don't even bother printing the thing anymore, because nobody reads it. It's an absolute disaster. Forest Cat says over on the studio line, Stranger who? Exactly right. You know, I'm willing to engage with anybody who wants to engage in good faith, but use deceptive practices to get the interview with me. I'm flattered. I'm flattered you wanted the interview so bad that you agreed to everything I said and then catfished me, basically. That's basically what you did. Am I sore about this? Nope. Just got a whole segment of radio content about this, was I'll be sure to post over on social media. But also, at the same time, I wish people had been able to see that interview. They would have seen I destroyed them. See, right here, Jeff and Kent. Agree to do the interview, then wipe the floor with them. That's what I did, and I was hoping to share it all with you. What I'm most disappointed about is not the deceptive tactics that they used. But I'm disappointed that you don't get to see me wipe the floor with them, because I said at the outset, my opening statement after all this was, I know you're never going to back this. I know this isn't the real deal. I know no matter what I say, you are going to support this tax, and you will never not support a tax. I wish I could have posted that. But unfortunately, now you never get to see it because the Stranger are dishonest brokers. When we come back, my friends, put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. Young Zach will be joining us for Fake News Friday, bring you all the hilarity of the news. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Fake news you can rely on.
It's called fake news.
With Young Zach.
Educate yourself, you fool.
On the Ari Hoffman Show. Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Believe it or not, the Middle East being on the cusp of peace breaking out all over the region is not fake news. Young Zach, what do you got for us today?
Yeah, that's not fake news, and neither is this headline from CBS. This is a headline from network news organization CBS. RFK Jr. suggests circumcision is linked to autism.
I'm sorry, what?
Here's what experts have to say. We go to our expert.
How about no?
How about no?
Is that what you were looking for on that one?
I've always thought this show was a cut above.
Wow.
Yeah, very good.
Oh my God, I just got that. Oh my gosh. Wow, it must be Friday.
Tylenol says it's a cover-up, but experts agree. But that's a real headline. RFK Jr. suggests circumcision is the cause of autism.
I watched the clip, and I saw what he actually said, and okay, I'll give you that one.
It's still crazy.
It's not great what he said. It's not great.
Because all you have to, because the reason is because then they give him Tylenol. Just lead with that.
Or
you need to.
I got a better thing. Give him alcohol like we do. Oh, wait, that's contributed to delinquency of a minor.
What?
Oh, yeah, we give him wine after the circumcision. That's when, I told you we drink a lot in our religion.
Explains so much.
8 days old, baby. Literally. Right? That's what we do.
Bring him young, I guess.
Oh, no, wrong religion. Wrong religion. Yeah.
Is it, though? Oh, no. I don't know if I could trust somebody who works out in jeans. I don't know.
Did you saw that, too? I saw that,
He's doing, like, leg presses.
Yes.
He could do, like, 700 pounds on a leg press, but he's wearing jeans that are tighter than Zach's.
What thing?
Oh, you broke Zach. Oh, no, there he goes. You broke
You're not
him.
getting that pen back after you threw it across the room. Goodness.
Yeah, they're a little tight.
A little bit. A little bit. What else you got for us, Zach?
Well, I've got pants from when they're from when the 2010s were a good time, and apparently we're on to a new decade, and my jeans haven't caught up with that. But yeah, I mean, it's one thing to do curl-ups in jeans, you know, if you're just but he's doing leg day.
Yeah.
In jeans.
In jeans. No thanks.
No.
Think of the chafing. Think of like, that moisture does not wick, my friend. There's no help for you, Mr. Secretary. I'm sorry.
Especially if he doesn't have autism.
Oh, no.
You see all that?
Oh, no. It's
man.
been fun having a radio show.
That's a joke. That's a joke with layers. All right.
What else you got, Zach?
I'll go to the Babylon Bee. NFL bows to pressure. We'll have Jordan Peterson do halftime show instead.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, Hitler brings peace to Israel.
What?
It's the Babylon Bee. Because
oh, that took me a second. I'm like, that took me a second. Sorry
the
about that.
5-word joke was the one that we had to pause. Just because Trump and they call him Hitler. They don't like him. They don't like him a lot.
They don't like
a lot
him
of the people don't
they
like
don't.
him.
The orange man bad. Yes.
So anyway.
Though I have heard that TDS is curable. And apparently it makes you more attractive from what I've heard.
Apparently it does, and Trump agrees with that as well, apparently.
Is that why I'm so gosh darn good looking?
Yes. Yes.
Is that why I can pull off these tight pants?
There it is. See, there it is. See, you wait long enough and it just comes back around again. Enjoy No Doubt at the Sphere.
Very good.
I'm just a girl. All right, well, more from the Babylon Bee. Embarrassed Jay Jones realizes he's only supposed to want to murder kids before they're born.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, that's just the Babylon Bee. It ain't me.
Zach came to play today.
Yeah, no kidding.
A federal judge orders National Guard to shoot pepper spray in their own eyes. It's because the federal judges, they're commies, all of them.
I'm with you. Yeah, I got you.
The Babylon Bee also had this one. Mark Sanchez sentenced to more than 5 seasons with the New York Jets.
Serves you right.
That's good, too.
This one's for you, Ari. Also from the Babylon Bee. Great news. Dunkin' Donuts announced they have found a way to make their donuts even worse.
As a Krispy Kreme convert, yes, I will, as Mike says, sanction this brave legislation.
Sure.
And then I did find this one. It's from The Onion. Israel agrees to go back to killing Palestinians just on a less frequent basis.
Oh, no, Zach, no.
No, it's okay. I do bipartisan fake news. So the Babylon Bee had this one, too. UK police still searching for motive of terrorist named Jihad Jew Killer.
Oh, wow. It's a family name.
Yeah, it actually is. That's the crazy thing. That's not fake news.
Can you dead name a guy named Jihad Jew Killer?
Oh, no. Wow.
Well, you know, because the trans community stands with them.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
All right,
Trans for Palestine. Yes.
We'll end on a lighter note, I think.
Please.
I don't know. It's the death of a cartoon character. So
What?
This one's, see? That's a good tease. Got you hooked.
Yeah.
There's people in their cars just they're about to turn it off.
Got tuned in.
They're about to turn off the car in the garage right now, but they're waiting to hear what I've got to say.
As the fumes just continue to fill the garage, it's like if there was only some sweet release from these pushing the boundaries of decency radio programs.
Death, horrible death.
They're almost about to ready to give up. Okay, here comes the punchline. U.S. military carries out strike on Scuffy the tugboat.
Oh, no, poor Scuffy.
The Onion had that one. I like that one a lot.
I like that one too.
Super dead.
Super, super dead.
Super, incredibly dead. Well,
very good.
Just like this segment probably will be after. Just a surplus of circumcision jokes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Send your angry emails to Zach@kvi.com, either with an H or a K. I hear they both work.
We should have all seen the foreshadowing.
Oh, come on.
No.
You know what? I was just about to say, well, when can we listen to more shenanigans like this with you? But now I don't want to.
Well,
I don't want to hear about your fun or your games or your morning ride.
Well, you can pull back the covers and listen to us 6 to 9 a.m. every weekday morning. Here on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Oh, I think you broke me with those.
Yeah, that's good, that's good.
Oh, dear. Okay. Well, now that I've regained my composure, thank you, young Zach. Do appreciate it. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
Oh, yeah. Only in America.
Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories. Streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, are the Democrats still losing the shutdown battle and Bruce Harrell's desperate attempt to get the president to notice him? But before we get to any of that, a lot of you had a lot of reaction to my question about whether or not to do that interview with the stranger. Jeff in Kent says, agree to do the interview, then wipe the floor with them. I like that one. That was good. James here says, when Bob Ferguson does an interview with you, you can do an interview with the stranger. That's kind of funny, but I don't think one has anything to do with the other. You know what I did like? Was yesterday when I was talking with Congressman Adam Smith, and I had mentioned this story briefly, very, very briefly, and he said, the first thing he said when he came on the show was, hey, you want to commiserate over the stranger? We could talk about that. See, who was that caller earlier who said I never do nice things with Democrats? See, we commiserated over that, and I was very, very polite to him when he came on the show, even though we disagreed about just about everything. Corey in Kent says, give them a short statement, then walk out. That's good, Corey, but I like the fight. You may have noticed that. I kind of like the fight a little bit now. This one here, Robert, Ari, yes, but insist on recording. That's what I thought I did this time. I would say that'll be the plan for next time. It'll be, the problem is what they said at the beginning. Well, Mr. Hoffman, if you don't want to do this, you're welcome to leave, which means it was a setup. It means it was a setup. They want to say, well, Hoffman insisted on recording and then he left. Yeah, that's what this whole thing was a setup. It really, really was. This one here, they said, Ari, absolutely not. Your time and self are worth way more importance. Unless you want to agree, say you'll be available anytime on Saturday. Give them the address of your synagogue. No, I'm not going to give them the address of the synagogue. They'll send Antifa. They got buddies in that little organization. Yeah, I'm not giving them the address of my synagogue. Meanwhile, switching gears over to something entirely different. Speaking of Antifa, by the way, remember when our friend Jonathan Cho was at the White House a couple days ago? Each of them at the White House took a different tack, a different approach. Jonathan Cho was talking about how much Antifa had to do with the homeless industrial complex. You remember this clip?
I cover far-left extremism as well as the homeless drug crisis in America. And I find it oftentimes those worlds intersect. And hot off the presses, what I wanted to bring to your attention today is a report from a Capital Research Center here in D.C. in conjunction with Discovery Institute. They just put out this study right now. And what it shows is that Antifa is heavily embedded in the homeless and housing nonprofit sector. In many cases, the homeless industrial complex is running cover for Antifa. Antifa is benefiting from American tax dollars, and they're essentially being used as the muscle. Let me give you an example. There's a group called Stop the Sweeps in many U.S. cities right now. They get in front of encampment sweeps. What they're doing quietly is they're bringing in Antifa militants to manufacture a crisis to make the police look bad. Another group right now that is behind Antifa and working with Antifa very closely, based on the research that we have right now that we're going to give to you and your team, are the Democratic Socialists of America, also known as DSA. Again, these far-left progressive groups tend to be aligning themselves with Antifa. So finally, in closing, what I wanted to thank you again, Mr. President, is that a few months ago, earlier this year, you put out an executive order on homelessness and the drug addiction crisis in America, and that's sent the entire homeless industrial complex on the run. You have absolutely moved the needle and changed the game. But what's also come out, again, is that there is a connection, a deeply embedded connection with the homeless housing nonprofit game in America, connected to Antifa and the far-left activists. And finally, I just wanted to say that all of our resources at Turning Point USA and Discovery Institute are at your disposal, and we will continue, again, to carry on the legacy of Charlie Kirk. He would have wanted us to pursue and chase the story.
Now, that was a unique line there as opposed to I got assaulted by Antifa or anything else. And everybody had their own unique lines. But one thing I found about Jonathan Cho's that was so fascinating was follow the money. Follow the money. And I've been saying this for a very, very long time. If you want to take down Antifa, you got to treat them like any other terrorist organization. Figure out where their bank accounts are, freeze their assets. That's what you do in the Middle East. That's what you do with Iran. That's what you do with Hamas and Hezbollah and these other groups. Find out where their bank accounts are. Now, it's going to be hard to prove coordination between Antifa here in Seattle and, let's say, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York. That's going to be a little bit harder because they all operate as individual cells. But it will be pretty easy to prove the relationship between Seattle and Portland because those guys go back and forth. During 2020, they were going back and forth all the time. I was fascinated by what Jonathan Cho said. So I asked him for this report by the Capital Research Center in collaboration with the Discovery Institute. The 176-page report titled Infiltrated alleges that left-wing movements are leveraging established nonprofit structures and grant channels to push political and social agendas that include defunding the police, promoting disruptive protest tactics, and destabilizing confidence in civic institutions. Researchers describe interlocking networks of advocacy groups and donors as the mechanism through which radical actors accessing funding and institutional resources while maintaining plausible deniability. A key chapter of Infiltrated is devoted to Antifa, which the authors characterize as a decentralized but coordinated movement operating through local cells and strategic alliances. The report claims these networks extend their influence beyond street activism and into public policy by embedding in larger coalitions and nonprofits. According to the report, Antifa-aligned groups have used fiscal sponsorships, arrangements that permit unincorporated or smaller activist groups to receive tax-deductible funds via established nonprofits to funnel money without direct exposure to donors. The authors argue that this model allows radical groups to benefit from institutional cover while masking their direct involvement. Do you remember what we found out during the Columbia protests and some of the other university protests? It's amazing that these guys had all these signs printed right away. It's amazing they all had the identical tents. What, somebody have a lot of gift cards saved up at REI? No. We found out that there was corporate sponsorship through foundations that were going to the activists on these campuses, and we tracked it at the time. Do you know why the Democrats are really mad that Seattle might get cleaned up? You know what they're really mad about? Because then the homeless grift is over. What did Donald Trump do when he sent in the National Guard to D.C.? It wasn't just about stopping gangs and stopping crime and stopping shootings. It was also about cleaning up the homeless. We're going to offer you treatment. We're going to offer you jail, or you can leave town. And guess what? It worked. D.C. is spotless now. If it hadn't worked, you could say, Ari, you got no case. Democrats are deliberately not dealing with what's happening on the streets because they know they get funding for every single drug addict that's out there. And they know they can buy all the real estate they want by claiming it's about affordable housing. Cities in the middle of nowhere, like Bozeman, Montana, have caught on to this crazy grift. If we bring in the homeless and destroy our city, not only will we get federal funding before Donald Trump, but in addition to that, we can tax these people whatever we want, and they will fork it over. Eventually, we'll get to the point where they just say, you know what, instead of taxes, let's just go with socialism. We're there already. That's the plan. That's the play. That's what they're doing. The report further contends that media and messaging campaigns portray Antifa as defenders against fascism or white supremacy, thereby laundering the legitimacy of more confrontational tactics. It suggests a normalization process wherein protest escalation, property disruption, and civil disobedience enter broader movements' playbooks. Infiltrated also addresses other activist domains, climate justice, racial equity, and electoral reform, claiming that the shared infrastructure, donor networks, communications hubs, legal advocacy arms, undergirds coordination across issue areas. The authors argue that some mainstream philanthropic institutions have, inadvertently or otherwise, funded or enabled more radical efforts. You notice the Hamasniks are now in the streets right now. Where's the Ceasefire Now crowd? Where's the Ceasefire Now crowd? Now, if they were happy about the ceasefire, they'd be posting it all over social media. They're not posting it at all. Why aren't they out there right now? What's the next thing they're going to take up? My guess is the next thing they take up is all the ICE stuff. They're just going to double down on that. In a joint statement, the Capital Research Center and Discovery Institute said the Infiltrated project is part of a sustained effort to trace how ideologies may seep into public life via civil society institutions. Tell you what, guys, you want to prove them wrong? You want to prove me wrong? There's an easy way to do this. A super, super easy way to do this. Do you know what that is? The easy way to do this is just say, call for an audit. If you call for an audit and the money isn't going to these organizations and the money isn't going to these things, then you can prove me wrong. Why won't they do an audit of Homeless Inc.? Because it's the government. The government likes to spend the least amount of money and use the money for other projects. Money is fungible. You want to prove me wrong? Call for an audit by an outside, trustworthy auditor. The timing of the Infiltrated's release coincides with the heightened executive attention to Antifa, which, as I mentioned, is when Jonathan Cho revealed this report during his meeting at the White House. Now, there's another angle to this as well. Riot Inc. is a radical network got over $100 million in taxpayer funds to support Antifa, according to a new report. It has been revealed, according to the post-millennial reporting, that $100 million in U.S. taxpayer funding has flowed into various funding networks that help support leftist and radical groups such as Antifa and others in what Government Accountability Institute has called Riot Inc. Appearing at the White House on Wednesday alongside the post-millennials Katie Davenport, Andy Ngo, and other journalists, the research director for the Government Accountability Institute, Seamus Bruner, shed light on how funding flows to Antifa and other radical left-wing groups that engage in protests and riots around the U.S. He said, "We followed the money, and we followed it to the top of what we call the protest industrial complex." He went on to describe Riot Inc., or a network of organizations that fund, market, and legally support groups such as Antifa cells in the United States. He said, "We found a network of NGOs. That's not just the Soros Network, the Open Society Network. It's other funding groups, the Arabella Funding Network, the Tides Funding Network, Neville Roy Singham and his group, Foreign Cash. It's also big left-wing funders. Reports said that the Tides Foundation was also funding the stuff that was happening at Columbia. Some of them are not citizens of this country. They mention who these people are. They call them out by name, and they say they're pouring money into this entire ecosystem." He added, "It doesn't just have Antifa boots on the ground. It has PR divisions. It has marketing divisions. It has very well-funded legal division to get those boots on the ground back on the streets as quickly as possible. Have you noticed anytime there's one of these school walkouts, all of a sudden these Instagram groups pop up out of nowhere with marketing material ready to go, or they go active after having been dormant for a very, very long time. By the way, let's not forget, on October 7th, before the attack even began, a lot of these groups went active. Isn't it amazing they all have the matching signs and the matching tents and anything else they need for these protests?" Bruno went on to say that one of the most shocking facts that he found was that more than $100 million in U.S. taxpayer funding has flowed into these funding networks, including at least $4 million to these very groups themselves, not just Antifa types. But there was an event in Atlanta called Stop Cop City. You remember that insanity? Over 60 rioters were charged with domestic terrorism. They were rioting against building a police training facility. The groups received money for that from both billionaire class as well as taxpayer money. He explained that the networks use crowdfunding platforms in order to transfer funds where they need to go, and that's how Antifa cells like the John Brown Gun Club and other groups get funding. The John Brown Gun Club, those were the guys walking around with the guns in the autonomous zone. As Bruner and other journalists went to the White House on Wednesday, the Trump administration posted a video on X with Attorney General Pam Bondi saying the White House will get to the bottom of this and put a stop to political violence and action done by Antifa. The only way that happens is if you follow the money. Newsmax had me on, what was it, last week I think it was, where I said this very thing. I was debating a Democrat strategist. By the way, the Democrats got to get new strategists they do interviews with. It's like beating up a kid or something. It's just too easy with these guys. It's really pathetic. They come out with their talking points, and they're told you can't deviate from your talking points, so they never, ever, 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 ever do. Instead, they just say, "Oh no, we're going with this way," and the second you prove them wrong, they have no rebuttal. Like me, I don't have any talking points. I just tell you exactly like it is. I tell you the facts, I tell you the figures, and so far not a single one of them has proved me wrong. You know how I know I win? When I'm debating these guys on TV, this is my favorite part. When they go, "Ari, I don't believe you actually believe that." I go, "Yes, this is what I voted for." My favorite one, I was debating one guy, and he said something to the effect of, "Ari, I'm Christian, and Jesus never would have sanctioned what's going on with ICE." And I believe my exact response was, "If Israel had better borders, then you know what? The Romans might not have killed Jesus." Like, that's just, they don't know how to answer. They don't know how to come back at you with that. That's when they went to commercial. I was having too much fun with that. You know who's not having fun right now? New York Attorney General Letitia James. She's having a lot of criticism on social media following the news that she was indicted for mortgage fraud. Now, mind you, the mortgage fraud that she did, she lied about the value of her house. That's what she did, allegedly. Allegedly. That's what she allegedly did. She also said certain houses weren't her primary residence. According to the paperwork, they got her dead to rights, but we still got to go through the trial. And I love the left saying, this is political persecution. Hey, where were you guys the past few years when we had something like that going on? There's a great picture on social media, which is Letitia James sitting behind Trump in the courtroom glaring at him. Yeah, karma. Here for it. Watching people call her out for this is just absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. I mean, her entire career is in shambles now after this. She started this. She opened this can of worms. She ran for office saying, I'm going to get Trump. Well, what are you going to get him for? It doesn't matter. I'm going to get Donald Trump. That's how she ran for office. She ran for office on just getting Trump. Looks like he got away this time. I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time, right? Oh, one day I'll get you. It's just crazy stuff. Meanwhile, this thing happening with China is a little complicated. Let me break it down for you. President Donald Trump announced on Friday, according to the Post-Millennial, that the U.S. will be imposing a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff they are currently paying starting on November 1st. Do you know why November 1st and not today? He's giving them time to come to the negotiating table. That's 20 days they can come to the negotiating table. He says, in a post, it's just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade in sending an extremely hostile letter to the world stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception, and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It's absolutely unheard of in international trade, and a moral disgrace of dealing with other nations. Based on the fact that China has taken this unprecedented position, and speaking only for the USA and not for any other nations who are similarly threatened, starting November 1st or sooner, depending on any further actions and changes taken by China, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff they are currently paying. Also on November 1st, we will impose export controls on any and all critical software. It is impossible to believe that China would have taken any such action, but they are, and the rest is history. Do you know why this is going on right now? There's an axis of evil right now. It's China, it's Russia, Iran, and now you're losing the Middle Eastern countries and you're losing Russia. China was working on their Silk Roads. China was working on expanding their sphere of influence. And thanks to President Trump's peace through strength policies, everybody's coming back to the United States. Thanks to the tariffs, everybody's coming back to the United States because everybody wants the U.S. as a consumer because we buy dumb things. It's better to do business with us than be enemies with us. Here, I'm going to make fun of my own people for a second. Let's go to the mall and buy skin cream because this skin cream came from the Dead Sea, and the Dead Sea has healing properties. Let me smear it all over my body. Come on, guys. We buy weird things. In other countries, they look at you like you're crazy for buying something like that. We buy things like that. So what's going on right now is China is worried about losing their sphere of influence. And what they're looking to do is try and shift the conversation and try and shift the business back to them. The question is, do you think this is going to be successful? I think a lot of countries are going to say, you know what? China makes this, but we can make this and we can get the U.S. as customers. Maybe we should make it instead. Mike knows this better than I do. A lot of the toys and such are made in countries like Vietnam, South Korea. You can get these things from other places. So if you can get these things from other places and Vietnam ramps up their production of G.I. Joe action figures or Transformers or anything else, then guess what? You don't need China anymore. China needs the U.S., but they also want their global sphere of influence. And they see it shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and they don't know what to do. You want to know how you get peace? You get peace through trade. This is how you do it. This is how you end wars. If only the Nobel Peace Prize Committee actually knew that. They didn't award it to Donald Trump, and the truth is I don't want him on that list. Here's what the Nobel Peace Prize people said when asked why they didn't award it to Donald Trump.
U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said that it would be an insult to the United States if he doesn't get it. What does as the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this, and how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters, domestically and internationally, affected the deliberations and the thinking in the committee?
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee have seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
So you've got a portrait up there of Yasser Arafat? Yasser Arafat, the mass-murdering terrorist. You've got a picture of him, and he's got courage and, what was it, stability? What was that? Courage and, what was that word that he said? Integrity. Yes, the terrorist has courage and integrity. I don't want Donald Trump getting that prize, because then he's on a list of people like Yasser Arafat. No, thank you. I'd rather President Trump be remembered by history as the guy who brought home the hostages. Joe Biden couldn't do this. Joe Biden, what was his approach? Let's negotiate with the terrorists. Donald Trump said, no, we are going to blow you off the face of the earth if you don't give back the hostages. And then he started moving pieces on the board into play. And guess what? Now they're giving back the hostages. Please, God, that happens this weekend. Peace through strength. Peace through trade. You know, it's funny to me, the woman who actually did end up getting the Nobel Peace Prize, she's the opposition in Venezuela. So that means she's an opponent of socialism. She's an opponent of dictators, which means, does she back capitalism? So all the people on the left who are like, yeah, Trump didn't get it. This woman got it instead. A lot of them, I noticed, are pretty left. So now they're excited that a capitalist won something? Oh, that's great. Oh, that's absolutely very, very, I don't know her personal politics, but I know she's the opposition in Venezuela, and I know what kind of country Venezuela is. So let's be real about what we're talking about here. Yeah, please, God, the hostages are coming back Monday or Tuesday. Trump's flying to Egypt, hopefully to sign the deal. Hopefully we're getting those hostages back. And then he might even be heading to Israel right afterwards and addressing the Israeli Knesset, which is Israel's Congress.
The hostages will be coming back Monday or Tuesday. I'll probably be there. I hope to be there, and we're planning on leaving sometime Sunday, and I look forward to it. And everybody I see is celebrating in Israel, but they're celebrating in many other countries too. A lot of the Muslim and Arab countries, they're celebrating. Everybody's celebrating. Everybody loves the deal. So it's a great honor to have been working on it, and as you know, it's all finalized and done. We've had a lot of terrifically talented people. We've had tremendous support from UAE, Saudi Arabia. Qatar has been unbelievable. Egypt, as you know, and Jordan. Indonesia. I mean, it's. I don't want to leave anybody out. Just so many different countries. It's been incredible. Nobody's seen anything like it. So I think in a year from now, it's going to be great.
You know, it's fascinating is that all the people they called warmongers, you just want war, Hoffman. Who are the ones who are celebrating this? Who are the ones who are celebrating this deal? All the people who actually want peace, all the warmongers. Who are the ones who are silent? The Ceasefire Now crowd. Where are all those guys? Masks are off, guys. We know why you're not. We know why you're silent right now. Because you didn't get what you wanted. You didn't get the destruction of Israel. You didn't get the death of all the Jews. And you didn't get the end of America. When we come back, my friends, Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell isn't going to get what he wants, which means another term. He's probably going to lose. We'll tell you why. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show.